Some Buddhist historical records about Jesus. A contemporary written record of the life and teachings of Jesus in India was discovered in 1887 by the Russian traveler Nicholas Notovich during his wanderings in Ladakh. He had it translated from the Tibetan text, the original kept in the Mambor monastery near Lhasa was in Pali, and despite intense opposition from Christians in Russia and Europe, published it in his book, The Unknown Life of Jesus Christ. As would be expected, the authenticity of Notion's book was attacked, and various articles written claiming that the monks of the Highest Monastery, where Notovich had found the manuscript, told investigators that they knew nothing of Notovich or the text. But both Swami Abhidananda and Swami Trigunananda, direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna and preachers of Vedanta in America, went at separate times to the Himas monastery. The monks there not only assured them that Notovich had spent time in the monastery, as he claimed, they also showed him the manuscript, part of which they translated for Swami Abhidananda, who knew from having read Notovich's book that it was indeed the same writing found in the Unknown Life of Jesus Christ. Subsequently, Abhidananda had the English translation of Notovich's text printed in India, where the Christian authorities had until then prohibited both its publication or its import and sale. Immediately after the publication of the English edition of Notovich's book, the British government in India hired Muslims to go throughout Ladakh and neighboring areas, posing as Hindus in search of further manuscripts about Jesus in India. They wanted to buy the manuscripts and bring them to their employees to be destroyed. Whether this shameful ruse succeeded to any degree, we have no knowledge. Swami Trigunananda not only saw the manuscript in Himas, he was also shown two paintings of Jesus. One was a depiction of his conversation with the Samaritan woman at the well. The other was of Jesus meditating in the Himalayan forest, surrounded by wild beasts that were tamed by his very presence. In America, the Swami described the painting to an artist who produced the following. Later, Dr. Nicholas Roerich, the renowned scholar, philosopher, and explorer, traveled in Ladakh and was actually shown the manuscript and assured by the monks that Jesus had indeed lived in several Buddhist monasteries during his last years. He wrote about his own viewing of the scrolls in his book, The Heart of Asia. In 1921, the Himas monastery was visited by Hernetta Merritt, who in her book, In the World's Attic, tells of learning about the records of Jesus' life that were kept there. She wrote, In Lai is a legend of Jesus which is called Isa, and the monastery of Himas holds precious documents 1,500 years old, which tell of the day that he passed in Lai, when he was joyously received and where he preached. In 1939, Elizabeth Caspin visited the Himas monastery. The abbot showed her some scrolls, which he allowed her to examine, saying, These books say your Jesus was here. Robert Ravis, a former professor of anthropology at California State University at Northridge, visited Himas in 1975. A Ladakh physician he met there spoke of Jesus having been there during his last years. In the late 1970s, Edward Novick, author of Amid Ice and Nomads in High Asia, and his wife visited the Himas monastery. A monk there told him, There are manuscripts in our library that describes the journey of Jesus to the East. Toward the end of the century, the diaries of a Moravian missionary, Karl Marx, was discovered, in which he writes of Notovich and his findings a scroll about Saint Isa. Marx's diaries are kept in the Moravian Mission Museum. The pages about Notovich and the scrolls have disappeared, and their existence is now denied in an attempt to discredit Notovich. But before their disappearance, they were photographed by a European researcher and have been made public. Notovich also claimed that the Vatican Library has 63 manuscripts from India, China, Egypt, and Arabia, all giving information about Jesus' life. In 1912, Mir Azut Ullah, a Persian, was sent to Ladakh in Central Asia by the East Indian Company. The religion was not his mission. He observed much and subsequently wrote in the book Travels in Central Asia. They kept sculptured representations of departed saints, prophets, and lamas in their temples for contemplation. Some of these figures are said to represent a certain prophet who is living in the heavens, which would appear to point to Jesus Christ. When Swami Abhinanda was in the Hemis monastery during his research on the records of Jesus' life in India, he was told by the abbot that Jesus had not departed from the earth at the time his apostles saw him ascend, but that he returned to India, where he lived with the Himalayan yogis for many years.